What happened to my? Good evening. It is 5:30. We have a special meeting tonight and we have a workshop tonight. We're gonna start with that special meeting. So I call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Dr. Redis?
Here.
Mrs. McLean?
Here.
Ms. Wonka?
Here.
Mr. Taylor?
Here.
Ms. Temple?
Here.
Ms. Dorothy Williams?
Here.
Ms. Kirsten West?
The next item on the agenda is public comments. Per Arkansas Code 6-13-619 and according to Act 902 of 2025, citizens who desire to speak during public comments must sign in prior and will be called to the podium. Speakers must meet one of the following criteria and listed on the sign-in sheet. You must reside within the school district, be a parent or legal guardian of a student in the district, or be employed by the district. Public comment is not a question and answer period, and as such, board members and the superintendent do not respond to the public comment during a meeting, while we do encourage you to speak respectfully and professionally. Further, citizens will have no more than 3 minutes to speak and will not be allowed to make comments that should prejudice the board of directors concerning student or personal matters that could come before the board for disciplinary or employment considerations, or that is in conflict with other district policies or laws. Further, public comments that include slanderous remarks about school district employees or that would violate the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act are strictly prohibited. Personally identifiable information, discussion of student educational records, or references to student directory information is not permitted during the public comment period. Speakers who violate these guidelines will receive a single warning and be respectfully asked to redirect their remarks. Should the speaker continue in violation, the board president will end the speaker's time and move on to the next individual. Our first person is Lynetta Hughes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Dr. Redis, Dr. Paluski, and members of the board. I'm still mad at you, Ms. Williams, for not coming today. I stand before you again to discuss my concerns with the budget cuts that are being presented. My concern is, why does it always have to be classified? We took the majority of the cuts the last time. And I'm also concerned because when we have these cuts, it seems like it's pitting CPPC and LPPC against each other because they get theirs and we get cut. So therefore, it seems like we're not on the same page. Because I'm always saying, why would LPPC vote against cuts that mainly don't affect them? Because this is the same thing that happened with the reorganization. And as you all stated at the last meeting, we moved in a better direction to be able to work together. And I don't want us to start this division where it's us against them moving forward. It seems like from this budget cut, only people that were going to get raises are teachers. And once again, the rest of us are stuck out there. And I know, Dr. Redis, you had spoke before about a merit pay. I don't get merit pay. So I'm stuck where I am based off of what I started. So I don't really think that that's a fair way to move forward, you know. And I just wanted to add this as something I've never said, and I may have said it, but over the last few weeks, RAPs have been helping a lot of our classified staff with food, with resources. Some of our classified staff are homeless right now, and you're adding another cut onto that is just going to be really bad all the way across the district. And as we're moving to trying to cut those that are making 245 to more than 200 days a cut, please be mindful that everyone is not making the same amount of pay. Some of our custodians are starting at $12.63. That's a lot of money coming out of custodian staff. I just want to also add, as at the end, classified staff are an integral part of the districts. Your students cannot get here on these campuses without bus drivers. They're not fed without food service workers. They cannot get into the buildings and are safe without security. And I like to also add, RAPs and others are also a big part of that as well. Why it's really concerning for me, even though deans are not, part of classified, but I want to talk about the morning staff. Before we make decisions moving forward, it'd be nice if people come to see how things work with the people that are being affected. I'll use morning duty as an example. I'm not supposed to help with morning duty, but we do what we have to do to make sure our kids get in safe. You have security, you have deans, you have APs, you have Dr. St. Louis sitting at the front desk, and you have RAPs in the hallway making sure that the kids are not wearing hats on their head, that they're in dress code, and you have 2 APs that are in the cafeteria. If we don't have that staff in the beginning, we are putting ourselves in a situation where it could be unsafe. Many of you might not have known that when we're talking about overtime for security, we just had a major incident on Saturday after an event. If we don't have security there working overtime, we're gonna have some issues. I just wanna say at the end, can we just start having more conversations? Maybe there's some conversations, some wiggle room we can have instead of just a pure cut. Maybe it could be a reduction in time, just so that we could try to come together so we're not always sitting in these situations. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes.
John Lemon.
Guys, same thing. Colonel Sanger said it should be available as an item for the next school board meeting. One thing I'll ask is I know school board members are rotating. If you can let me know when. I don't know when.
March 19th.
March 19th.
Hey, thank you. Couple things. I'm looking through the budget. One thing that I've seen from the school board that I don't necessarily like is it feels like the administration is presenting you guys solutions, which is great. They know things better than you. They should be doing that. But then your set of choices, you only see what they present to you. And fundamentally, it's not that they're nefarious, going to only show you things that they want. It's that they're going to be biased. It's just the economics of it. You protect your own power structure because you believe that power structure is what's important. That's fine. It's natural. It's not bad at all. But I'm asking you guys to dig, and I'm digging myself. So I'm looking through the budget. I'm comparing it to neighboring school districts, and I want to see where things are slightly different. Where are we different than other school districts? I'm expecting the same out of you guys. I haven't seen that as much. I've seen you guys criticize the solutions that you're given, but not as much digging. One last thing before I go. My daughter is going to start preschool soon. As far as I understand, I can't put her in the preschool that we have for income reasons. I can't pay for her to have a slot. We have to find like a private preschool. If that's not true, we should advertise that more. I would like my daughter to join preschool in the same cohort that she's going to join for kindergarten. Instead, we have to spend money to get her somewhere else, and that seems strange to me. So if that's not true, let me know, and we should advertise that, because that's another funding source. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Gwen Jackson.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And I'm basically here to give a reminder from a previous board meeting when we were discussing the increase in stipends for athletics and non-athletics. And during the public comments, I made that I am not against bonuses, raises, increase in stipends. And during that same meeting, we had talked about how we had realized savings. And so my pitch was, okay, if we realize the savings that we were trying to derive at, then let's hold on to those savings till we get to a surplus, and then let's spend out of our surplus. But here we are tonight discussing, again, savings that we need to make when we have already given increases as far as bonuses, stipends for athletics, non-athletics, and we're still in need. And I work in finance, but I'm trying to wrap my head around how we give increases and we're still in need of. And I know in my household with my budget, you know, I can't operate that way. And so I'm wondering, how do we hold on to our monies until we're able to, you know, give the raises and the bonuses and stipends that people are clamoring for without continually coming back to the drawing table and presenting more cuts to individuals. And I'm not going to bring up myself personally, but I mean, I work 245 days. That may seem like a lot of money. I work year round, but we're in a totally different lane when you look at it across the board with everybody that worked 245 days. And so you cannot just put a magnifying glass on that number, 245. You got to delve in depth and look at the actual numbers. If you cut 245, if you cut 240, what does that actually mean for that individual? And so this is just a reminder, as we're talking about giving raises, increases, but yet we're still decreasing, and then you turn around and increase, it's just bringing you back up to the level to which you've decreased in my book. So I just want us to, you know, just really take a look at how we're handling all the pluses and minuses. Thank you.
Thank you.
That was our last public comment, but before we go into executive closed session, I should have did this at the beginning. I wanted to recognize a school board member-elect that's in the audience, Mr. Kevin Newsom. Welcome, thank you. On March 19th will be his first board meeting. That day at 4:30, it starts at 4:30. From 4:30 to 5:30, we're going to recognize our outgoing board members and our incoming board members, and the 5 of us will be sworn in during that session. So come out on March the 19th and say farewell, welcome, and thank you to those that's got to be sworn back in again. Executive closed session. Executive closed session per North Florida School District Policy 1.14A stating that private or closed discussions by the board may occur as part of a regular or special board meeting. Executive sessions may be held only for the purpose of considering employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee, or to discuss matters of pupil punishment, if requested by the parent or legal guardian. No resolution, agreement, or motion considered in the executive session shall be legally binding unless the board reconvenes in public session and presents the item for vote of the membership. In addition, Arkansas Code 6-13-619E states that school district board of directors may meet in executive session for the purpose of that one. Let me skip ahead. Finally, Arkansas Code Title 25, Chapter 19, Section 106, 2C1 states the specific purpose of the executive session shall be announced in public before going into executive session. Please join me in the executive closed session for discussing the following matters: employment, appointment, promotion, demotion, disciplining, or resignation of an employee. We are back in session. We're down to action items. Is there a motion?
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I so move that we accept employment of personnel as discussed.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that we approve employment of personnel as discussed in closed session. Being that it is employment of personnel, there can be no discussion. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Is there a motion to go into workshop?
Madam President,
Yes, ma'am.
I so move that we adjourn and go to workshop.
Second.
It has been properly moved and second that we adjourn and go into workshop. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are out of the meeting. Welcome to workshop.
Madam President, members of our board, our first information item is our big packet for our construction bond. So I will welcome Mr. Brian Brown, our Chief Executive Officer, and the Scott Beardsley, our everything financial advisor for the North Little Rock School District. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much. My instructions from Brian were to be brief, so I will be brief. I'm going to give you three quick things. Number one, as a reminder, when a school district's millage is defeated, it reverts to the previously approved millage amount. So while the millage was defeated on Tuesday, it does not affect the millage that is being collected by the school district or the length of term that the millage had previously been approved. So someone may ask you, why did you have an election that the results did not matter? And it's because it's a constitutional requirement. The General Assembly can't change it, and nobody wants to take the time to do a constitutional amendment to address this one small thing. So we have the election. It's only if you're asking for an increase that the result matters. That's number one. Any questions about that? All right, number two, I left on your seats a recap of the bids for Series B of the bonds that the voters approved last year, and had several texts and discussions with Brian since the war broke out on was this going to impact the school district and the rates. On Friday and Saturday, kind of off-market, rates went down, and then on Monday they started going back up. And how did this impact the school district? So when we started this process, before we went to the voters, we were using an interest rate of 4.50. When we put the bid packets together 3 weeks ago, before the Iranian stuff came up, we used an interest rate of 4.55 in our modeling. So kind of keep that in mind, and I'll go over the recap real fast. So the district received 8 bids, which is a great turnout. The low bid came from Wells Fargo at 4.556007. So we almost hit it directly 3 weeks ago on where we thought the interest rate would be. It's a little bit above where we were 2 years ago. The cover bid was from Cardi at 4.605, then from JP Morgan at 4.638, and you can see the other 5 bids that are there. Thankfully, we did not have to take the last place bid, which was 4.754117, not to pick on Mesro. But we were very pleased that the interest rate, even all the volatility and everything that's going on in the world right now, kind of came in right where we had predicted or estimated several years ago. So your payments will be approximately where we started this process when we were trying to figure out how many new mills to ask for. So your debt schedule, we will be providing at your regular meeting. You'll pass the official motion to put all this in place. The thing most board members want to know is how much money do we have to spend towards the projects we've been talking about. And in the paragraph transfer of funds, the very last sentence, the balance of $60,360,287.35. It's what is going into your account at the end of this month. You have 3 years to spend that money. And there are some arbitrage rules, which I will provide to you at the regular board meeting. They're the same as they've always been. And basically, you have to spend 10% of the money within 6 months. You have to spend all of it within 3 years. You have to spend the money how you told the voters you were going to spend the money. And it cannot be spent on salaries, utilities, any type of regular reoccurring projects. It has to be spent on capital expenditures. And you'll start paying this money back in August, which will be in the 26-27 school year. And the motion is the bottom of page 1. We'll ask the board to consider at your regular board meeting. Any questions about the bids, the process, or anything related to the bonds?
It's a 30-year.
30 years.
Okay.
I may have asked this question. Is
Sure.
Friday, Eldridge and Clark the only law firm that we have to use?
You do not have to use, and I'm going to answer that a little more detail in the last thing, but I would say that they do 98% of all Arkansas school bonds. And it's not just the firm, it's one person. And he, over the last 20 years, sort of became the expert and keeps up with all the national trends, and that's who the Department of Ed calls. And when he's just kind of become our resource for whether it's us or our competitor. He does all the schools in Arkansas when it comes to the bonds, so that they're consistent from district to district. But I'll touch back on that, and let me see if I answer your question on the very last thing that I'm going to tell you. Any other questions about the bond issue? For the last 30 years, when the district hires us, our fee always, on our fee schedule, has an asterisk that says the fee that you charge us also includes the bond attorney and the printing and any expenses related to that. There's some national regulations that have come out. I often say I'm your financial advisor, but the Securities Exchange Commission now says the correct term is municipal advisor, because I give advice to municipalities, and even though you're not a city, schools fall under that. Financial advisors only give advice to real people, two-legged people. And as part of these new municipal advisor things, we are taking the legal fee out of ours. And in future contracts, you will see exactly what goes to our firm, and then the legal firm, their fees will be broken out. And if the district wanted to use a different firm, then it would be, because it's more transparent, then you would be able to see, we don't want to use the Friday firm, we want to use someone else. But it will be broken out differently in the new contracts and more transparent than it's been historically.
If you'll remember, J.R. Eldridge, former employee, his father is part of this law firm. He has said some very unkindly words against our school district, so I don't want them profiting. But that is me, and in 2 weeks I'm off this board. You do what you want to do.
Thanks for bringing it to
I
our
want it
attention.
publicly known. Shame on them.
Duly noted. Any other questions about contracts, bonds, elections? I think I'm within Brian's time limit.
Okay, I do have one quick question. Just, what happens later in the loan that it jumps up so high on principal and interest? It goes like a couple million, and all of a sudden now it's 5 million.
So we are working around your existing debt. We, in this particular issue, chose to not refund any of your outstanding debt that's at a really low interest rate. And so it's called dovetailing. We have low payments. You'll even see there's one year at 0 principal, as we're working around payments you're already obligated to. And as those pay off, then the principal and interest on the new issue increases. But over on the far right, where your it's not on yours in my mind, where your total principal and interest is all your debt, that's what I'm controlling so that it's level. And I'm working around the existing debt. And I will bring you the total debt page, or I'll just email it to you before the next meeting, or I'll email it to Brian to give everybody on the board so that you can see in front of you what I'm describing.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Anything else?
Ooh, thank
See you in
you.
2 weeks.
All righty.
Thanks, Mr. Beardsley.
Thanks.
Well, you might as well stay there because we're down to the fiscal year 25 audit report.
Yes. So I'm going to invite Mr. Mark Glover from HCJ CPAs and Advisors. He's our district representative from the audit firm, and he's going to go over the report with you for fiscal year 25.
Brian gave me the same advice to keep it short and sweet, so I'll try to do that. There's nothing worse than a accountant or auditor that likes to hear himself talk. I'm aware of that, but I'd like to thank Dr. Polisky, Dr. Redis, and the rest of the board for having us here tonight. in order to present the audit results. Overall, you'll see that we had a really good audit and no findings, but as we jump into it, you have a draft of the report. Whenever we issue the audit report, we're going to issue a unmodified opinion. That's considered a clean opinion. It means the financial numbers and information are correct and accurate. And once again, that's a clean opinion, good opinion. So let's flip to page 4, which is the balance sheet. And when you're looking at page 4, it breaks it down between the major funds that the district has. Going from left to right, you'll have the general fund, the special revenue fund, the other governmental funds, and then the fiduciary fund. And it has a detailed breakout of what makes up the various funds. These funds are broken out between restricted among state and federal programs, assigned for capital projects, and then just the kind of catch-all that unassigned. Majority of the district's assets are related to cash and cash equivalents, in which are either restricted or assigned to the various items that I previously mentioned. If you flip to the next page, page 5, this is the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance. Once again, left to right on the column, starting with the general fund, total revenues of $102 million for the year. That's compared to a little over $100 million last year, so roughly a 1.5% increase. That increase is mainly due to the increase in property tax revenue, as we had an increase in property values and collections compared to last year. However, there was a slight decrease of state revenues, roughly a 2.3% decrease in state revenue, and that's due to the decrease in student enrollment. Looking at the special revenue fund, $15.3 million are revenue for the year. That's compared to $29.2 million in the previous year. So that's roughly a 47% decrease in federal revenues compared to to the 2024 fiscal year. That decrease is strictly due to the ending of the ESSER funds. In the fiscal year ending June 30, 2024, the district received roughly $13.6 million in ESSER funds, which has since been discontinued. So that accounts for roughly the drop in the federal revenue. When you look at the expenditures, you'll see total general fund expenditures of $86.5 million. That's compared to $81.5 million, roughly a 6% increase. And the majority of that increase is in the support services. And once again, that's also an ESSER story, where ESSER funds covered some expenses last year, in which the general fund had to pick up the tab and cover that in 2025. The total expenditures for special revenue fund, $16.7 million, compared to $29.4 million last year. Once again, that's an ESSER story. That's a 43% decrease, and that's compared to a 47% decrease in revenues in federal revenue. And then lastly, the other governmental funds, roughly $10.5 million in expenditures. That's made up of your principal payments on the bonds, along with the interest payments, and capital outlay expenditures as well on capital projects.
Can I ask a question real quick before you go
Yes.
on? So on this page, the $3.6 million, that's the balance in our ESSER now? Or is that already obligated? Do you know?
The ESSER funds have already been spent.
They've already been spent, okay.
Let's flip to page 7, which is the start of the footnotes.
Mr. Brown, could you use the clicker so that other people can see what's going on?
Thank you, Ms. Williams.
You said page 7?
Yes, ma'am.
Page 7? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. So page 7 is the start of the footnotes. Note 1 highlights the significant accounting policies. If you look at the bottom of page 7, it describes the measurement and basis of accounting. We issue this report in accordance to the regulatory base of accounting, which is slightly different than generally accepted accounting principles. The regulatory base of accounting is required by Arkansas Code, Arkansas state law. If you flip to the next page, on top of page 8, this paragraph says the RBA, which is the regulatory base of accounting, is not in accordance with GAAP. And then the rest of the paragraph gives a description of the differences between the RBA and GAAP. The next paragraph, the company financial statements are presented on a fund basis, and then it goes into detail that describes what the fund basis is, and that's talking about the balance sheet and the profit and loss statement that we just went over. If you'll flip to page 10. At the bottom of page 10 is note 2, the cash deposits with financial institutions. This is to let the reader know that you had cash in the bank of roughly $77 million at June 30, 2025. However, that cash, which is above and beyond the FDIC insurance, that was collateralized. So therefore, that cash, even though it's above insurance levels, there's collateral put up by the bank in the district's name, so it's protected. So heaven forbid if that bank goes under, if there's a run on the bank, your cash, the district's cash, is protected by that collateral. If you flip to page 11, looking at note 5 is the commitment and the long-term debt and the bond footnote. First paragraph, construction commitments. At the end of the year, the district was contractually obligated for 3 major construction contracts, and that's related to the middle school, the Old Main, and the indoor sports complex. That's kind of the hot topic right now, of roughly $115 million related to these 3 projects and some other projects as well. The next table shows the outstanding bonds as of June 30, 2025. Outstanding debt, roughly $185.5 million. If you flip to the next page, the first table is the changes in long-term debt. So that shows the amount of principal payments made on both bonds payable and a finance lease during the year. So roughly $1.3 million in principal was retired by the district. The next table is a summary of the debt service payments on the bonds that are coming up. So therefore, in 2026, you'll see that the district will make roughly $5.2 million in payments on principal and a little over $2 million on bond interest. So that will be the 2026 debt service payments. The gentleman before me talked about ducktailing the bonds. Well, this is kind of what he's talking about when he was reviewing upcoming future debt service payments for the district. And this does not include the bonds that he's talking about. Those are issued after June 30, 2025. Let's flip to page 15. So one of the things we have to do is we have to monitor subsequent events all the way from the end of the fiscal year, June 30, 2025, to the date of our report. If there's anything material, we disclose it to the reader. For instance, on July 30, the district issued the first series of construction bonds of roughly $9.9 million. That is the first part of the $71.6 million approved by the voters of the district. The next issuance of the bonds was previously talked about by the gentleman in front of me. So that is our footnote disclosure of any material subsequent events. If you flip to page 17. So So page 17 is it's what we call the Yellow Book report. All governmental entities, like a school district, has to have a Yellow Book audit in which we issue an opinion on testing of internal controls and other compliance items. We did that testing as part of our audit. We did not have any findings to include in our report, so we issued a clean, unmodified opinion on the Yellow Book audit report. Let's flip to page 19. So page 19 is the auditor's report on compliance for each major program on internal control in accordance to uniform guidance. So if a governmental entity or a nonprofit issues more or spends more than $750,000 in federal awards, you have to have a single audit. So therefore, we performed our single audit as part of our audit. We did not have any findings to put in our report. So therefore, once again, we issued a clean, unmodified opinion. Let's flip to page 22. Page 22 is the schedule of expenditures of federal awards that we just went over the report. Total federal expenditures was $14.2 million. Based on our risk assessment, we tested the special education cluster and Title I. That is roughly $6.9 million of federal expenditures, or 49% of total federal expenditures that we tested. And based on our testing, as I previously said, we didn't have any findings or any comments resulting from that single audit test. Let's flip to page 26. And page 26 and 27, it's just more documentation showing, letting the reader know that we did the single audit test and there are no findings reported, whether it be a financial statement finding or a federal awards program finding. Let's flip to page 28. So the last report that we have to test and issue is the auditor's report on compliance with Arkansas state statutes. The next 2 pages are the state statutes in which we have to test as part of our audit to make sure that the district's in compliance with the various state statutes and regulations. Based on that testing, we did not come across any findings or any issues in which we have to disclose in our report. So once again, we're issuing a clean, unmodified opinion on this state audit report. So overall, working with Brian, Makisha, they were very helpful. Any questions that we had, any invoices, documentation that we needed to support our opinions, they were willing and provided. So we had no disagreements or issues or complaints with management. With that said, I'm here for any questions that the board might have.
Does anyone have any questions?
I just have a comment. I think that it was in new school board members training that I remember them telling us you want to have no findings. So page, what is that, 26, 27, 28 there? No findings. That's good for me. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that they were able to provide you with everything that you needed. That's wonderful. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
None, thank you.
No questions for me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Glover.
Thank you.
We're down to construction updates. Colonel Stanger?
Welcome, Colonel.
Good evening, Madam Chair, board members, Colonel Stanger, Chief of Staff, the Superintendent. Real quick update. What we're looking at right now is asbestos in the Old Courts and Police Building. So we did the testing last week and this week. We'll get the report next week. But I can tell you, we got over easy with asbestos abatement in the middle school. That's not going to happen this time. So it will be significantly more expensive. That is all in perspective because we paid very little to abate over at the auditorium before we knocked that building down, which means the abatement process will go longer too. We'll have the exact cost, and we'll put bids out for that starting next week. We were hoping to have that done and that building down this month in August. We'll see how long the abatement process takes, and then the plan is still to knock the building down and then start debris removal, which will be the official kickoff of the sports complex. And then we will look at the other buildings across, like the old annex, when we start looking at Old Main. Other than questions of that, I need to put just a quick reminder to the board. I need to put my governing board policy hat on real quick. That when the new board is the board is going to have to decide if it's going to be one person or two persons to draw lots on a 2-year or 4-year term. I recommend that happen sooner rather than later, so those board members will know what they're looking to in the future.
It's in the plan.
Thanks for that reminder, Carl.
We're doing it. That's what we're
On the
talking about.
19th.
We're doing it on the 19th.
Okay.
That'll be the first thing is to decide on the terms.
And then on the 19th, I'll be able to bring a price tag.
Any questions about construction?
Okay.
Mhm.
Good report. 5 minutes. But what I want to say to you, Mr. Stanger, in that I read your weekly report and it was very good and profound. Please for me, because if you tell us there are 136 people that were absent from the nutrition department, you can take the policy that we have and get with the LPPC too, because they are also having the same problems. But with that, and the policy that came out in July 06, how many years is that? It's too old, and you have to change the policy with the culture of your employees. But thank you for the report anyway.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a quick question as far as the process that you were talking about as far as the asbestos. Now, I'm unfamiliar with what all that entails, but I guess in my non-construction mind, that if you tear it down, is that particular component necessary?
Yes, ma'am. So what they found, just for instance, in the court and police building, there's asbestos tile on the floor, there's asbestos tile in the ceilings, there's asbestos insulation around pipes in the walls, it's everywhere. The problem with asbestos, as soon as you start destroying it, it turns into dust.
Oh, it's
And then
airborne.
Then it gets airborne,
Gotcha,
and
okay.
that it's a carcinogenic. So that's why all that stuff has to be taken out. They seal it, vacuum it out. They wear like these space suits.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's a severe health hazard, and it's been regulated by the EPA for years.
Yeah, okay.
So
I was just, because they just did a remodel in my office, and it was like zipped off, like with the
Yep.
heavy plastic, but I knew it wasn't a situation where you could tear it down, so that's why I was like wondering, like, if you were tearing something down, like, is that component necessary? But that makes sense since it's gonna be,
if it sits there, it's
Dust.
inert. But as soon as you disturb it, there's
Right.
the problem.
gotcha, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Is there a tentative cost?
No, sir. We just know, well, I'll have that next week. So the company did it the last couple of weeks, and they had to come back this week when they discovered a little more in the ceiling tiles. And so what'll happen, they'll come back with the estimate, and then we'll bid out to that estimate. But I won't have that report until next week, and then we'll know a solid number.
Did we have something in the budget that would address that when the bidding process?
Yes, sir, we did. We made a pretty good assumption. It was those old buildings were going to be bad, and we have budget lines just for all that kind of stuff in the budget.
Any other questions?
Oh, thank you, Jesus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you.
We're down to our last informational item, which is fiscal year 27 savings options for salary reinvestment.
Welcome back, Mr. Brian Brown, our CFO. We start with the graph.
Yes.
Mr. Riddle, if you can pull the other document, which is the graph first. Yep, perfect. And maybe if we could just enhance that a little bit for our viewers, Mr. Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Riddle. And Mr. Brown.
So, yes, thank you, Dr. Paluski, Dr. Redis, and members of the board. We're having a discussion regarding reduction in expenditures because I was charged with finding room in the budget in order to invest in our licensed teacher salary schedule. And the way we have to create that room is either increase revenue or decrease expenditures. And the way we increase revenue is by tax revenue, which you heard tonight. There was a small increase in our tax revenue, but also fighting us on that revenue is the decrease in the state revenue portion of that, which is tied to student enrollment. So those two, small increases in revenue for property taxes, decline in revenue for student enrollment, and that's an offset. So then we have to move to the expenditure side, and we have to see what expenditures can we reduce, eliminate in order to create that room in the budget to invest salary in the licensed teacher salary. So what I've done is just classified our expenditures. And if you'll notice that salary
Before
benefits.
you explain for the public so that they will understand, everything that we're discussing tonight, it is exactly that word, discussing.
Yes.
It
this
doesn't
is
mean that we're about to
vote
and take away anything.
That's correct.
We charged you as a board to bring us back. If you can save on paper clips, we want to know about it.
Yes.
If you can save on, cleaning services, we wanted to know about it.
Right.
And so this is only a discussion. We're not voting on anything. I
That's
just
correct.
wanted to put that out there.
This is a board workshop, and it's information item, and it is for discussion only. Yes. So if we look at this expenditure graph, what I've done is just simply dumped our expenditures into an Excel file, and I've classified them by category. And if you'll notice that the salary and benefits is 75% of our expenditure budget. Bonded debt payment, which we covered tonight, both in the audit report and in our discussions with Mr. Beardsley, is 12.8%. That's our mortgage payment on our buildings. And we have, with the exception of the dovetailing that Mr. Beardsley was talking about, we have very little control over that. There's a principal that's owed and an interest that is paid, and beyond the dovetailing maneuvering that Mr. Beardsley and his firm can do, his overall goal is to keep that mortgage payment as constant as possible for us, so it's not going up and down. So that was the maneuvering he was talking about that happens. But it's 12.8% of our budget. Then utilities and insurance. So utilities, we have invested in a reduction there as to be as efficient as we can on utilities. And the insurance program, that's been recently revamped by the state. And those premiums are set. That's not something we negotiate. Those are set by the state of Arkansas. And so that 4.5% is a required payment. And then we have maintenance of effort. Maintenance of effort is a metric that we have to meet in order to receive federal funding. The maintenance of effort means we have to make a certain level of effort in our state and local funds in order to qualify to receive the federal funds. So of the expenditures that we are discussing here, 3.1% of those are in maintenance of effort that we cannot reduce because that's a metric we have to meet. Then the other categories of expenses, the last three you could group those together, but I pulled them out because I wanted you to see that 1% of our budget is dedicated to curriculum expenses, and then 0.8% is in our teacher technology device rotation. So we rotate 20% of our devices, out of every 5 years, once out of every 5 years, a teacher gets a new device. So it's a 20% rotation. That's 0.8% of our budget. And then the remaining funds left is 2.7%. And if you recall, that number was higher in prior years, but through board's action and Dr. Paluski's action, those district operations have been reduced down to 2.7%. So that includes all operational budgets. That's how the high school has their operating dollars, athletics has their operating dollars, central office has operating dollars, and then that buys office supplies, it buys mileage reimbursement for employees that drive between campuses. So there's not a lot. We've already reduced those. There's not a lot of fluff left in that last budget item. So my point here being the categories that are not asterisked, the bond payment, the utilities, the maintenance of effort, those are set. Those are required for us to pay. We have no flexibility there. I don't have asterisks there. Those are set. The places that we can affect some reductions would be in the salary and benefit line, the curriculum expense line, teacher tech devices line, district operating. So if you, the line there that has the highest percentage of expenditures is the salary and benefits line. And so, a lot of the expenditures that are on the list are from that particular grouping, but there's a reason for it. It's because that's where we spend our money. So with that being said, I just wanted to put a lens on the overall categorization of the expenditures and give you all an explanation of the category of expenses, how they're lined out, what we have control of, what we don't. So if there are any questions about this graph, I'll ask those. If not, we can roll on to the list.
Any questions? Keep it rolling.
Okay. Okay, so we have the savings proposal list, and again, this is nothing new. You all have seen this before many times.
Yes.
Ms. Williams, you've seen this many times. And I'll be glad to cover this line by line or answer questions.
Go line by line. They've had it.
I want you to know I'm willing to do it, but I will.
We appreciate your willingness.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Is there any?
I could just tell you what I think about some of it, Mr. Brown. We're not trying to be here all night.
Yes.
And you gave us an opportunity to look at it.
Yes, ma'am.
And so my thing is, first I would like to say, I know it's the same thing we've seen, but it seemed like, so we won't get so many folk coming up to the mic all the time. If you would involve the teachers or the classified people to come together, the team, to look at it, y'all don't have to agree to disagree, but at least they played a part in it. Otherwise, every time there's a board meeting, we're gonna forever have them coming up because there's no involvement with them. And I was wondering, I'm not wondering, I'm just telling you for a fact, I think that could really be more effective, because if you involve them, we, as a board, we done looked at this several times, but they have never, every time they come in, they sitting down there telling us what they don't want. If you involve, I feel if you involve them in the process, then that's bringing us together as a team. That's what I'm saying. You have your business office, They know what's going on, but you got the classified and the certified. Involve some of them, get them two groups, let them say, look at this long sheet, and they may agree to some of this. Because right now, they looking at us as a board, we the bad guys, because we are voting for this. I wouldn't vote for it because I've been there and done that. I'm retired, so I'm not in this, what they're into now. So that's a consideration I really would like for you to have.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown, I mean, just to clarify, I mean, you have been involved with both the LPPC. They've invited
We
several
have
times
over,
and.
yes, we've been, just last week, I attended the LPPC meeting at their request, and we went over, I answered questions about some items on the list. I've been with CPPC before, but there are new members, and that was a couple of years ago, and I've met with them several times, so it wouldn't hurt to go back and
Yeah, we're happy to
bring
go back.
people to the table.
If we've not done it,
Yeah.
we will.
And
we
I'd
should.
just like to also remind you all that this list isn't Brian Brown's list.
I know it's not.
It's,
your list.
this is, what I was charged with was to put items down on the list that is not required by the state of Arkansas. It is, that's what I was asked to do. Then LPPC, CPPC, and other administrators brought other ideas, asked me to calculate savings. Those have been put on this list. So this list is a cumulative list of ideas that have been put on here. But I just wanted to make that clear that what we were asked to do was try to find savings where, try to find savings where we're not required to do things by the state.
And Mr. Brown, and the only thing that I'm saying, otherwise, every time we have a board meeting, we vote on something. They're
I
coming
understand,
up
Ms. Williams.
in here doing that. If you involve them in the process, we want, as a board, we don't have to have folks signing up every week. They can come in, and if they sit down, they can say, we agreed,
Yeah.
we came to an agreement. That's all I'm saying, and I think that would be more harmony rather than board members getting phone calls telling us and getting emails feeling that we don't know what's going on. Everybody on this board got one email about something. We don't need that. Because you're the COE. Let's involve them so I can feel better when we look at it. That's all I'm saying. I think that'll help.
We will,
I'm
Ms.
through
Williams.
with that.
Sure, we will.
CFO,
It-
sorry.
I knew what you
But
meant.
I mean, COE.
I
I'm
knew
thinking
what you
about
meant.
these other organizations.
But like you've said, yes, we've seen this millions of times.
Yes.
But there has been some new CPPC and LPPC.
Yes.
So if you wouldn't mind revisiting
Sure.
with both
Sure.
committees
Yes, ma'am.
and
Will do.
then see what they say, and then have a workshop, kind of like what we had when this was first presented
In the fall.
in the fall,
We're
and,
up here on
and
Saturday
Come
morning.
in.
it was
Eat
on a
donuts.
Saturday morning. Yeah, and we had donuts on Saturday morning, but people could come in, and we sat out there, and people could come in, and we had a dialogue to have another one of those.
And thank you, Mr. Brown, for all you do.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Okay,
you for all
keep
you
up the
do.
good work. CFO?
See ya.
All
Yes.
right.
Ms. McLean?
I would like for you to just clarify, in the past, we started with a bucket list like this, and we were reducing because our revenue was reducing.
That's right.
Can you explain that so everybody is clear about that? Because that wasn't where we were just going to have extra money because we were reducing some items. It was because our revenue was reduced. And you can tell us the ways. I know it was ESSER money and other.
Declining enrollment.
Yes.
So we have had a decrease in revenue, and it's multi-pronged. We did have reduction in federal funding, funding that was available to us during the COVID epidemic. That money was substantial, and was good for the district during that time. But that money, as we've discussed tonight, all of the ESSER funding is gone, is depleted. So it was one of those, you had a certain period of time to spend it or you lose it. And we chose to spend it and use it for our employees and for equipment and services that we needed during the COVID period. So that money and revenue is gone. I would say 75% of the districts across the state of Arkansas are experiencing reduction in student enrollment. And that is, of course, the source of our funding. A tax base is a source of our funding, but our ADM is our student foundation funding. And as student enrollment decreases, so does your revenue. And so the way salaries work in school districts, people are contracted. We have a salary schedule. As people grow in experience, they move down on a salary schedule. So their salaries grow. You have what's called a step increase. So we have to guard against those continued contractual obligated expenses of salary and benefits exceeding our revenue. So as revenue decreases and our expenditures increase in salary and benefits, that's what brings us to making sure that we keep a balanced budget. Now what we're talking about here is not to balance the budget, it's to create room for additional funds to be invested in our licensed teacher salary schedule, to recruit teachers and to retain teachers. So that's the whole purpose of this budget reduction. We've had those budget balancing discussions before, and we've achieved those goals. But this is a new discussion. Some of these expenditure reductions are some of the same ideas, but now it's for a different reason, and it's to create additional space in our budget to invest in the teacher salary schedule. So
I just think that considering that we're about to get 3 new board members, that we have a 2-hour workshop again, and those of us, I know it'd be redundant for 4 of us, but still we need to have a meeting where we can involve the community. They may have some ideas so we can all hear it
maybe
together.
the 4 of you could draw lots and 3 of you wouldn't have to come for those. You'd need 4 for a quorum.
It'll be 3 of y'all that hadn't been, because Henry wasn't in it.
Yeah, he was here.
Were you?
Yes.
Okay,
Oh.
I have one more statement to make, Mr. Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
When you bring this presentation, you need to have a salaries, a projected salary schedule with the monies that you, teachers' salary, classified salary. You can't, and maybe if they can see how much money will have to be spent, that would be the difference. If you had that, you can go to work now and start looking at, if we said $55,000 for teachers, as a raise, then are you going across? Are you going down? And this way, vision helps. And I think this would really, and if I look at that and see that this is how much this is costing the district, maybe that'll help some of the employees. May not, but at least try it. Use every avenue. That's all I'm suggesting.
Well, I just want to make a comment because I've been on the board a long time. And as enrollment's gone down, it hasn't necessarily corresponded with employment going down. We've kept teachers, and you can see that's the biggest area we can impact. And I think that's something that we really have to get on.
I was just going to say the same. We haven't done a RIF in years.
But just to jump in here, but remember, we,
You're right.
for this budget, we reduced a lot of vacant positions where we didn't have to do that.
Through
We didn't
attrition.
impact anybody because we wanted to keep the people that kept those jobs, but still We just didn't fill them. And then we had retirements, and that was on the second. So that was a significant cost savings. And I think, to your point, Ms. Williams, that I think where a suggestion would be is, what is the dollar amount that we're trying to get to? Are we trying to get to 4? Are we trying to get to 5? What is it?
Right.
Then the board is, I think, going to have to make a decision that if we have $5 million, is there an investment of 2 of that to go to the classified side, or 3 of it to go to the licensed side, or split it down the middle? 2.5 million goes here and 2.5 million goes here. Because we recognize the need for quality teachers, but we recognize our classified staff as well that need to. I will say on the license side, and I know that Dr. Redis and I went to the state school board, you know, what we have to look at on the license side is potentially the days of just putting $5,000 in the base. I think those days are going to be gone. It's going to have to be based on performance and growth, the letter grade and evaluation. That certainly, it's not going to look that way on the classified side. But also something I would like Mr. Brown to share, and it's probably a good time because we've been looking at creative ways. Would you like to share, Mr. Brown, the conversation that we had and
Yes.
As it relates to the building fund as a potential area of an investment in our employees?
So it's not the building fund, but the net legal.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
the net legal balance, which is what we normally put in the building fund.
Right.
Sorry, my
Yes.
bad. Yeah, we
So-
don't want to use the building fund for a one-time.
I was sitting there like, do what now?
My bad. I got them mixed up. So we don't want to use those for recurring costs.
Right,
That's not
right.
good
I was
budgeting.
like, now how we gonna use the building fund for that? But
put it
I
in the
got you. I got you.
So Dr. Paluski and I had a conversation recently about, just to give you a little bit of history, back when I was hired in 2011 as high school principal, you all were hiring a CFO at the time, Ms. Drennan, and the district was in fiscal distress. And it was regarding the bank reconciliation and not being able to reconcile the books. And in that process of working through the fiscal distress requirements and working through their exit documents, the ADE had recommended that we keep $12.8 million as our net legal balance. And so when we were approved for exit from fiscal distress, the district has always kept that $12.8 million as our net legal balance. Now, in 2011, our revenue was around $126 million. And as you heard tonight, our revenue is $102 million. So we've decreased in revenue over time. And so Dr. Paluski and I had a discussion about what about the possibility of investing some of our operational dollars that would reduce our net legal balance from, say, 12.8 or 13 million. We increased it in the last 2 years. If we reduced our net legal balance from 13 to say 11.5 million, that would still leave operating room for cash flow during the summer. So he and I discussed a decline in what that would mean. So what I did was reached out to ADE and I talked with their fiscal distress unit. And they're not called fiscal distress anymore. They're called
But we know
public
what you're
school
talking about.
administrative support or something along those lines. But I spoke with them about, okay, let's just talk hypothetically. We're interested in investing in salaries, and we're looking at ways to trim expenses. So we're looking at ways of doing that. I told him we invest weekly. We meet weekly in a position control to try to absorb positions that we can absorb through attrition. And he looked at our data with me. He said, yes, I can see that you all have been very fiscally responsible in your staffing, in your budgeting. And I said, so let's talk about the 12.8. And I said, we have recently increased that, but if we wanted to invest some operating dollars and we wanted to take our legal balance down to 11.5 million, I said, how would you all view that in your office? And he said, well, a declining balance would throw up a red flag in our fall review. But that would only be a red flag for us to go and look at your staffing. We'll see, are you staffed accordingly or have you been addressing that? And he said, I can see you are actively addressing that. He said, we would also look at, he said, we would also look at your debt ratio. He said, your debt ratio, good. He also said that he would look at our student enrollment and projections. And in the bottom line, the end of the conversation, he said, if you took it to 11.5 and your metrics remained good and as they are now, we wouldn't have a problem with that. So that's on the table. I just want to put that on the table as an option for the board to invest some operating dollars in order to do this. But my conversation with Dr. Paluski was investing operating dollars in salary and benefits locks it in. So in the future, where we may have to say no to something where we have been able to say yes to additional expenditures in the past, a no may be a hard no going forward because the budget is tighter. Okay? So if the budget's not super tight and things come up and you need to invest, we can make it happen. But as the budget tightens and we reinvest money and we have to have cash flow for summer when state revenue doesn't come in, federal revenue doesn't come in, that's where your net legal becomes important. Then a no may have to be a hard no going forward. I just want to lay it all out there for you. That again, that's a board's decision. If you want to consider investing additional operation funds, I would not suggest investing additional operation funds without also pairing that with some reduction in expenditures. So again, it's on the table as an option, and
Can
just
you do
wanted
it
to
in
lay it out there.
little increments?
What's that? Yeah.
Can you
Like
do it
phase
in?
over
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe not 2 million, but
Not-
maybe $1 million.
Yeah, and see how we do with that, and we do, after a couple of years we do good with that, then okay, we can shave a little bit more off.
Yes.
Versus jumping head in and then bomb go off and we're stuck.
Yeah.
Question, Mr. Brown. My fund bank has always been for any school district. You maintain that 12 million. In the event you should come up and you feel like you're going in the hole, that's an emergency fund
That's
to be
what I'm afraid.
used in case you have a problem. So I hear what you said, just an option. But we've always been told in Arkansas School Board Association, you must maintain with the amount. It all depends on what your financial balance is.
Yes.
So when you were talking, our thing is that money, you don't touch it because one day you may not be able to pay a bill and you can go back. You can dip over there.
Yes,
You
that-
understand, but you
that-
say that's an option.
The 12.8 was a percent of your revenues that was
that
determined
particular
back in the
time.
day by ADE,
Okay.
and you still must maintain the net legal balance that's sufficient to carry you through for cash flow purposes
Right.
when you don't get money from the state or the federal government, especially during the summer.
Right.
So it's what carries you through those months where you don't get, and we have a substantial payroll.
Bank,
Yes.
money in the bank.
My question, well, I have two questions. When you were mentioning about summer, is that when you say summer, are you speaking of just regular summer payroll that we still have? Or are you referring to the operating of summer school?
I'm talking about summer expenses. It could be summer school. So normally, summer school is funded by federal dollars, but there is no reimbursement during the summer for those federal dollars. You have to have money. So if we're going to do a $400,000 summer school, that's a federal out of Title I. That would be, we have to have $400,000 cash of our money to fund that up front, and then the federal government will reimburse us come October.
So have we
when they start
not looked
those
at
again.
what we talked about previously was maybe putting some of that burden of proof back onto some of our students? Like if they missed the opportunity as far as the free education component, then they maybe will pay like $100 fee during the summer. Have you looked at that maybe to help offset some of that cost?
Well, when you're 99%
Poverty
school
level, I get that part.
and we've all talked about that, that to me, I think that's a difficult thing to ask families.
That's true, true, but
I mean, we
then,
could,
but,
or a reduced rate, if you will. I mean, it is.
I mean, to me, I think it's, if you get to that component, I mean, that's putting some kind of skin in the game for you to do what you need to do during that summer. My other question to you is, going through all of this, were the stipends factored into the salary component, or?
Which stipends, the athletic and non-athletic?
With and then the,
33%, 27% admin, I'm fussy.
Oh, those are getting, we're breaking out those in the.
Yes, they're in the salary.
so that's
Yeah,
factored
they're-
into the salary
Correct.
wheel, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So it's already in there.
Yes, ma'am.
Right, it's budgeted.
I thought so, but I just want to make sure.
We doing good, except 6:59.
Is,
Bye, Mother. See you later.
is my memory correct that we said we need 4.1 million for, as the licensed? If we give them a raise, we need 4.1 or.
So it's 3.99 million for a $5,000 raise to the license salary base.
So that doesn't even include
for round
classified.
numbers, it's $4 million that we need for a $5,000 increase to the licensed teacher base.
So in light of what you've just said about the salary schedule looking differently and going to those, I know that has to be another discussion that,
For
that
sure.
would come up.
If that's something the board is going to support, is just putting that money to the base, or looking at and adopting a performance type of incentive, which several school districts have done. And we've got a general idea, a pretty close idea what that looks like for core content teachers that are teaching in tested areas, and non-core teachers as well. Everything from school counselors to library media to they have skin in the game too, to help support that school with their letter grade. So we've got some ideas on what that could look like.
Well, I know at our ASBA conference back in December, I was surprised at how many school districts in this state are doing that already. They've gone to that
Kind of a
plan.
merit pay
Yes.
performance.
So I was just wondering how that, the 4 million can take a kind of a different look if
Yes.
you're going to do something like that.
Right.
That's
But
correct.
we're still needing 4 million to try to do something for licensed salary. And then we want to do something for classified
Thank you.
too. So when are we going to have this workshop? This Saturday?
That was
No.
that was one of my questions before we left. Is when would you like it? Do you want it during the week, or do you want it on a weekend?
A weekend, but let's get the new members on board
Okay.
first.
Okay.
Before we do that.
But it's getting late to make decisions too.
It
I have a
it
comment
is,
about
but
that.
in all fairness, if I was a new board member coming on, I wouldn't need the
Well,
information.
couldn't they be included in the workshop? I mean, they can come and.
Oh, I won't, no, ma'am, not
Technically,
this weekend.
no, because they haven't been sworn in.
They won't be
I know
sworn
that they
in.
could just be an
on the
observer.
19th. They'll be sworn in on the 19th, so therefore,
But
we
they could
cannot
come as a
say
citizen.
this
It's open to the
longevity.
public.
Yeah, they could.
Move on.
And they need to go through the new board member finance and
Yeah, they got to go through all of that.
There's a lot.
Okay, on the net legal balance, I don't know if my memory is good, but it seems like whenever we clear that out, it's 2 million or less. We're not talking about a lot of play there. And,
Right.
What we would take out?
well, like when we clear it out,
Oh.
you know, when we move it over to the building fund.
Sure.
It's been
What-
more substantial in the last 3 years because if you recall, we refinanced some bonds,
Uh-huh.
and Mr. Beardsley structured that savings to be all up front rather than lowering a payment over 30 years. He took it to be all up front, so we could bank that savings over a period of 3 years to the building fund for our construction project. We're in the third year of that 3-year savings, so our bond payment will go back up to the regular. But traditionally, our savings each year annually has ranged as low as 1.5, 1.4, and it's been as high as $4 million. It really depends on the year that we have, the staffing that we have, and the expenditures that we incur during that year.
Well, the bond is not a permanent savings. That's a temporary
That's
savings.
correct. So
And then-
our savings at the end of this year will be more than the $2 million because it includes the bond. It's one-time refinance bond savings. We'll sweep that over to the construction, and it's where it was designed to be, is to support our construction program.
All right. Well, then I want to add to that. I'm not completely opposed, but we just found out we have abatement that's going to cost more, and we can't go back and get more money. We have to have the money there. So it doesn't seem like a very wise time to be taking money that go in the building fund to use for salaries that are a permanent increase. That
Right.
I'm not loving that idea.
We just wanted to put it out
I
there for you.
appreciate it.
Yes. All cards on the table, and then there's decisions and factors that have to be considered.
Have we agreed to item number one? Because I thought we had. Is item number one on this a done deal? I thought
it was.
I thought we had agreed to it. It's a done deal.
It was not a done deal.
So we have a meeting, I think, coming up with Cardonics, Dr. Rogers, Thursday. So we'll be making this recommendation shortly.
Thank you.
I think we got one more meeting. I think it's next week.
Yeah, the last conversation, I remember us saying yes to that, but that's what my notes had stated as well from that meeting. But either way, Cardonics needs to be involved. Yes, we need to be utilizing what we have already purchased that we are not utilizing 100%.
And then, Colonel Stanger, have we found any software to manage our personnel in a more efficient manner?
We're in that process as well. We have an internal system, but it would make our life easier if we had. And we started down that road several years ago, and we met with eSchool, and Brian filled that in.
Yeah, we tried that before.
I'll answer that. Ms. Coleman and I sat in on a Zoom today, looking at position control software, and we were looking at a demo, and I'll just say the software that we looked at today appears to be software that will do exactly what we need, where we can number a position and track the historical employment of people related to that position, and then you can get FTE reports by location, by filled position, unfilled positions. Yes, so we have been on that, and we've looked at that.
Because I think we can get a lot of savings when we really start managing that.
Yes.
We can. The good thing about it is the board then could authorize, let's say, a number of positions, whatever that is. Right now, positions are a function of money, and they fluctuate. So it makes it hard to budget, and it makes it real tough to predict salary lapse. So how much money would you have if you ran a model to say cut or move or not backfill through attrition or whatever? Right now, that's very difficult to do.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I can ask it off. I'm done.
No, all hearts are clear?
Yes.